Okay, welcome. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We're here with Kieran Murphy.
G'day.
From, tell us where you're from. You're from a band. What's happening with your band at the moment?
So I was in Old Devil, but I guess it's an indefinite hiatus at this point. Does that make us cool if we say indefinite hiatus?
Man, that meant you were like in demand.
Yeah.
10 years
ago.
ago.
So probably won't use that word then because we're definitely not in demand. But yeah, we've kind of pulled the curtain on it for the time being, just while I guess we kind of all work out what our relationship is with music going forward. I mean, I've been in bands for better part of 10 years now, and there's only so much you can kind of give before you're like, right, I need a little bit of a break.
Yeah.
Now I'm not as young and spry as I used to be.
I feel that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the band's on. Yeah, it's behind closed doors at the moment. We might do something later on, but for the time being, we released an album end of last year, and
that was awesome.
Yeah, we felt pretty good about it, but we probably need to take some stock of the situation, and especially in WA music at the moment, and find out where our place is in it.
Yeah.
We're writing post-hardcore music for 35-year-olds, and there's not a lot of 35-year-olds going to shows anymore. So
that's the ebb and flow of music, though, isn't it? You get to a point where you dial in how much effort you want to put in. You realise you've got to do things a certain way, and then always gets to a point where you're like, we know we've put in a bunch of effort, but it's gotten to a tipping point where we're like, we need to take a break, or we need it's not. I don't think. Yes, it's financial. It's for financial reasons. You go, we can't keep throwing money at this, at this thing for forever. But I guess with you guys, you were writing, recording that album, and putting the finer points on that for a while. Spending cash on it.
Yeah, a lot of cash.
And then and I remember it's a great album.
Thank you.
At the end of the podcast, we'll link and we'll tell people where to go to listen to your stuff. But what were you? So you say you've been in bands for 10 years. Where did you? I've known you since this place opened, which is at least 6 years, 7 years.
Probably no.
Oh, Cosmic.
Yeah, I knew you from before then. Yeah. So you used to come into Cosmic in Cannington, R.I.P. Yeah, back when I was working down at Carousel.
Almost RIP for the whole of Cosmic.
Yeah,
and now
I know.
It's back.
Yeah, they're back. We were bang. Everybody, it's that kind of, you don't know what you've got till it's gone. Everybody was freaking out about Cosmic closing, and now it's back from the dead. So I hope that people go out and support it. Yeah. With the best intentions, like they said they were going to.
I know, and I think it'll be. It sounds like it's going to be a bit of a different. It's different management, different people, different companies. Yep. Literally just the building and the name. So if they manage it slightly different, it'll be a different experience.
Yeah, I mean we need more music stores in Perth for sure. Like we don't want to just put it down to one or two music stores. That's never healthy for anyone. You can't have a monopoly on things.
Yeah.
I've known you. Let's call it probably 9-10 years, maybe.
Yeah, well, I started there in 2009. I started there just over 10 years ago. Obviously, I haven't been there for a while now, but yeah, that's when I started there. So even if you bumped into me in the first couple of years, that's would
have been around then.
9 years.
So I used to play. I used to play All Eyes on Saturn back in the day. Then Blackbirds. Then Little Room, which was like a really short-lived experience, but that was such a fun band to play, and there was so many great musicians in there. But
was that reasonably recent? Like, was that Little Room and Old Devil?
At the same time. So Little Room's first show, we did the Allura Dannon reunion show at Amps.
Yep.
And that was Old Devil and Little Room, which was the sweatiest night at Amps I think I've ever been in my life.
Yeah.
Like Josh and I halfway through,
and that says a lot.
That does say a lot, yeah. So halfway through the Little Room set, Josh and I kind of looked at each other, and we were both wearing jeans.
Yeah.
And we were like, this is too, I'm going to pass out on stage, or I'm going to slip over in a puddle of my own sweat.
Yeah. So you took your jeans off?
Nearly.
Yeah.
Downstairs we did, but that was for a different reason.
Yeah.
But no, we ran down to the local convenience store, bought some scissors, and made our own shorts and cut them off.
Holy shit.
So Lady Gaga dress change halfway through the night. So that's awesome.
Dropped into the IGA, bought some steaks, and just stapled steaks to your jeans.
It was awesome.
So All Eyes on Saturn. I remember a lot of your artwork and posters for All Eyes on Saturn was like incredible back in the day. I don't recall ever listening to it way back then. I've listened to it since, but all I remember from early days was, man, that artwork's really cool.
Well, do you know what that came from? So we had Adriana. She was the vocalist for that band, and one of the first kind of meetings that we ever had with her was, if we're going to do this, let's do it properly. I'd played in bands in the UK, but never really to any kind of notoriety. And this was my first band that I played in Australia. And one of the things that we really wanted to drive home was that if you're going to buy a CD, it's got to be, and that's when CDs were big, it's got to be the complete package, right? It's got to be, there's a reason why marketing works. There's a reason why you buy things that look more appealing.
Yeah.
So we scoured DeviantArt, which is like you can just basically see people's artwork on there, and then you can commission them to make something for you.
Yeah.
And we found this guy.
This is way before things like Fiverr. This is way before Pinterest.
Yeah,
this is like, I remember it.
I mean, this is just as Facebook was getting started as well, really.
Yeah.
Like no, I mean, our first ever song was released on MySpace. That's how long ago we're talking about.
Yeah.
And yeah, Adri had this whole idea for the album that it was a girl that found some crystals, touched the crystals, and then turned into a brown bear at the end. I still don't understand it, but I was happy to be involved in it.
I think maybe she was on some crystals.
She was on some crystals. Actually, Adri loves her crystals, but not those kind of crystals. She likes all these like healing power crystals and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we did that, and we commissioned this guy to do the artwork, and still that is my favorite artwork that I've been a part of in a band. I mean, the stuff for Old Devil is great, but this was just so, I'd never seen anything like it before. And yeah, I was really, really proud of it. I've still got a giant poster of the bear trapped in the cube. I've still got that up in my music room.
Do you think it play now that and we'll touch on this in a minute, the whole CD thing going out and streaming coming in.
Yep.
Digital distribution, do you think artwork has taken a back seat since, or is it's obviously easier now to get good artwork, I believe?
Do you know what? My friend, so Nick Roberts, who plays in Old Devil and is the lead guy for Altona, we were talking about this a little while ago, and we were talking about the importance of the quality of music now, right?
Yeah.
I think back in the day when it was harder to make... It was harder to make music back in the day.
Yep.
Because you had to get in a jam room and do it all in there.
Yep.
So you'd put in the effort into that, and then I guess you'd put in so much effort into the music that you'd be like, right, well, we've got to give this a full run, and you'd have to get this really incredible artwork. And I was looking through some CDs the other day, and I was looking at the artwork on CDs.
Yeah.
And I came across one band who shall remain nameless, quite a big band, but I was looking at their artwork and I was like, this is shit. It's just not cool. It's not cool. It doesn't make me want to listen to the album. And then I was looking at something cool like Pink Floyd's Wish You Were Here. Yeah. And the front cover, that album artwork is incredible.
Yeah.
And it's just a photo. It's not anything spectacular, but I look at that in the same way as the Abbey Road album by the Beatles. Like it's really simple, but it talks of that era. And I don't think that bands really look at that anymore. You don't really have much album artwork now where you're like, oh, that makes me want to listen to the album.
Yeah.
It's
more just make it look clean and professional now.
That's right, because you're not relying on people going out and buying the CD anymore. You're relying on them listening to it on Spotify. And if you're listening to it on Spotify or Apple Music or any of those, you don't need the album artwork.
No.
I can't think of the last album artwork I looked at and was like, oh yeah, I want to listen to that.
Yeah, especially when your CDs aren't being bought for that album as much, if at all. Like some bands, local bands, may not even do that anymore. My band aren't. And then even where they're listening to it on a phone and how big they will see that album art, how much detail does that need to be in if they're seeing that size of their thumbnail? Yeah.
I mean, we put a lot of effort into our album artwork for.
Have you been for the Old Devil one? Have you been told it looks like a James Bond?
Yeah, a little bit
through the gun.
Yeah. And there was actually some artwork that Nate Hill, who's the guy who did our artwork. He gave us one where the there's a figure in there, and he's actually standing in the circle at the end, and it definitely and I'm a huge James Bond fan. I mean, I love James Bond, but yeah, I didn't realize that until after we put it all out. But I guess we just sent him. We sent him the album. We talked what the album was about, and we said, "Can you do some artwork around that?" We actually found his artwork via Statues because he did Statues' latest album.
Yeah.
And man, he just nailed it. Like we got the first renditions back, and we were like, "Well, that's it. That's done," you know. And which shows that we picked the right person, I guess.
Absolutely, and it's funny that you're sort of in the music industry, especially when whether you're doing audio recording or the artwork, is you get so cautious that someone's going to do a good job that sometimes you go with someone and they may have been recommended or whatever, and you get it back and you feel like it's getting blood out of a stone to try and get what you want, and then on other occasions you get, man, bang, that's it. They've on the same wavelength.
We didn't even look at anybody else. We didn't look at any other artwork. As soon as we went onto Nate's Instagram, we were like, "Yep, that's the guy. Cool. He's incredible. Let's do it." And we were really, really stoked with it. And man, the most professional guy, like so laid back but professional at the same time.
Yeah. It's good to have that balance. That's good.
Absolutely. But then we had disasters with the PR side of things. Like we hired a guy to do all the PR, and he kept blaming us for things. It's like, mate, this is your job. Like, you got to do this. So it's kind of hit and miss with different areas of that business.
I'm glad you told me that, because I know that I've asked you about this before, and I've said to my band, hey, another PR company I got told about from someone is another option. Let's check this out. So we won't check them out now. So
please don't. Look, I mean, there could have been a variety of things that went wrong. I don't want to badmouth someone. It didn't work out for us. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Could have been the music. Hey,
it could have been me.
Yeah,
could have been me. Yeah. But yeah, it's the music scene's so different for those kind of things now. Like it's.
Do you? Because you work for a store, electronic store that sells CDs and vinyls and whatnot.
Yep.
A fairly popular one. What trend have you seen? It's all well and good to see graphs online and just know for a fact that things have been declining for some time. What have you seen as far as I guess CD sales? Are they still happening at all, or is it put it this way? Is it worth it being a thing anymore?
Okay, so back when I started, so when I would have first met you, down at a store near Carousel. Kings of Leon released their album. So that one with Sex on Fire on.
Yep.
That album went ballistic. It was crazy. People were lining up for it. You'd refill a section, and this is when I worked in music, so I was in the music section. You'd fill up a section, and 3 minutes later you come back and 12 CDs had gone. Like
wow.
it was amazing, right? But then you saw that slow decline. You still get some albums that do really well, but man, I you know what? I've got upwards of 1,000 CDs at home. Yep. Can't tell you the last time I bought a CD.
Yeah. I was definitely a guy, let's say 6 years ago, I was still the guy. I was like, no, I'm still, doesn't matter. I'm still going to buy CDs.
Yep.
And when did I buy my last CD? 4 years ago, I reckon. Not because I always wanted to support the artist, but it got to a point where I was, obviously I didn't want to keep collecting these things that I probably wasn't going to physically, if I had the Apple Spotify accounts.
Yep.
I wasn't physically going to listen to the CD. CDs weren't as fancy as, I did start buying a few vinyls just as for, just to have them.
Because you're cool, right?
Because I'm cool. Again, I was like, I'll listen to these, and I haven't. And then, I became one of the guys who promised he'd never stop buying CDs, and just did. And that's the way.
It's so sad because there is, as we spoke about with the artwork, there was something really quite nice, and it's going to sound super nostalgic the way I talk about CDs now, which I never thought I'd get to that point, but. You jump in your car, so you go and buy something from a retailer. You jump in your car, you'd unwrap the plastic.
Yep.
You'd have a look. You'd look at the track names. I don't even know track names now. It's just track number blah blah blah, track number blah blah blah. I don't even know what the name of the song is. You'd open it up. You'd look at the disc artwork. You'd put it into your CD player in your car, and then you'd listen to that album for 2 weeks straight in your car, right? That would be.
But even now, so now I think more often now I know the name because it's on a screen as opposed to. So you don't.
No,
you don't even know the name. Wait, do you know my name?
It's James, yeah. Yeah. Look, it's no, I don't. To be honest with you, I've very, very recently not fallen out of love with music, but I put less credence into it than what I used to, right? And I think the reason being is that it's like, I was speaking to someone about it the other day. It's like working at a fast food restaurant and seeing how the stuff is made.
Good analogy, yeah.
Yeah, right? And then at the end of it, you don't feel like you want to consume it anymore. That's kind of where I've got to with music now. And that is not talking about the process or anything like that, but it's like you put X amount of hours into an album that runs for 45 minutes and someone might listen to that album, let's say 10 times, generously 10 times they'd listen to that album. That is still not the amount of effort that you and your collective members have put in. Effort
or money, exactly. There's that whole analogy of that sort of image on social media of, hey, this band spent $20,000 making this. You can spend $2 to pay to listen to it. And none of my friends were into music in the same way I was, so they would happily pirate stuff. And whenever I'd have a go at them, they would say, well, if you can get something for free, the whole soft illegal thing was thrown about. Like, it's not the same as stealing this. It's like, well, in a way it is, because, I mean, that's their profitability. You're saying that you're not physically stealing anything. You just, it gets to a point where you are.
But there's a point now where you listen to something on Spotify and you're not directly paying for that music, right? You're paying, the way that Spotify's, the way that their structure works, their money's going to go to the Chris Browns of the world, which just hurts me in so many different ways, regardless of how many times you listen to that album, because that's the deal they would have struck with the publisher to get the music on there.
So you're saying it's nothing to do with cents per listen?
Nah, that's such a misconception amongst people that the more you listen to it, the better. The more you listen to it, the more likely it is that it picks up on the algorithm and it goes into another playlist. And you might get from there. But if you're just doing it yourself, you're going to get fuck all from that.
It is still just a massive popularity contest, isn't it? It doesn't matter how, like, you talk about how, well, now that everything's in our hands, we can go with a promo company, we can do this and that. It's like, yeah, you can spend money to get yourself to a certain level, and you can get lucky where you get on a playlist, but at the end of the day, it's still a popularity contest.
Yeah, if you're in local music to make money, you've got it completely backwards. You're in the wrong frame of mind.
Idiot. Yeah.
You're an idiot, yeah. I mean, like, the best way to support your local band now is not actually listening to them on Spotify, not listening to them on there. It's go to a show, buy a shirt, go to a show, buy a shirt, go to a show, buy a shirt. Just keep doing that, because that's actually going to keep your band in business.
Do you think, I know this, I know the answer to this question. Do you think that people realise that bands pay $60-odd a week just to rehearse and be still okay at their music? So people don't realise that. I spoke about this in a previous podcast. People think that if you're in a band, if you can play a guitar and you know a guy that can play this, that, and the other, and you guys play music together, you're in a band. You're killing it. It's like, no, well, hang on a second. It's just like,
there's no such thing as killing it.
Yeah. So they definitely don't realise that you're spending $60 a week just to rehearse. You're spending $20 a month or $50 a month on strings. You're spending. I mean, fuel is like neither here nor there. You drive to your hobbies. Big deal. Yep. But all these little bits add up. So to have music as a hobby, and that's what it is, it's a hobby. To have music as a hobby, it's as expensive as being a model train builder, or as expensive as being a mountain bike rider.
Yep.
It's the money that goes in doesn't come back out.
That's right. And that's not even taking into account all the lessons and the time that you've put in to learn the instrument, to get into a jam room, to be good enough to do it.
Yeah.
We did the calculation on our
record.
Yeah, not so much the record. It was the single launch.
Okay.
So when we did the single launch for the first track off the album for Old Devil This Is, we did the calculation of how much money we earned. We put that show on ourselves, which and I know this is going to ruffle some people up the wrong way, but the best way to put on your shows, don't go through these nights that happen every week. Put on your own fucking show.
Oh, yeah.
Do it yourself.
Yep.
Put the effort in because you're actually going to get majority of the money back. You're not then funding for another touring band to go around Australia.
Yeah.
You're actually funding yourself.
Yeah.
We worked that out too late in our music career as Old Devil.
Yeah. So that went. So that single launch went.
It went okay. It was at Lucy's. We didn't pack it out by any stretch of the imagination because that is just the music scene as it stands at the moment.
Totally.
So we had 190 payers, right?
Jeez, yeah, that's good.
We were okay with that, right? We wanted to sell it out, but you're not going to get everything you want. We put on a good show. We had great bands on the lineup. And we didn't even break even for the 10 jams, and including strings and all those kind of things. The money that we took home didn't break even for all those jams. Yep. And you need 10 jams to get to a point where you can put on a really tight show. So, and that's not even taking into account the cost of the album.
Yeah, it's only 2 months of jamming.
That's right. But we made sure that we paid all the other bands fairly because what we were seeing was you'd rock up and play a show and you'd play at a venue on a certain night of the week and you'd get $50 for the doesn't even cover your parking.
Yeah.
And we were like, no, we want to pay it based on a tier-based system. So we were like, okay, we'll pay first band $200.
Wow.
The second band $300, third band $400, and then we'll take the rest. $400. I can't even remember the last time I got paid that as a support,
as a main support.
Yeah,
exactly. And that's I've got a not a theory on this, but same as what you're saying is, and the numbers you've just told me go over and above what I even thought was generous, because you're right. You're saying most of the time people will pay a band $50 or maybe $100, all the other bands, and it gets to a point where you wonder why those bands aren't putting in effort to get good, or they're always generally that supporting band, and they're never putting in the effort to get good. They're never putting in the effort on Facebook to get their friends to come, and that's because they're not like enamored by like, whoa, this band's paying us like $250 to play. So for our launch, we did a similar thing where we pretty much just flat out gave all the bands, I think we gave them either $200 each, or we said it's $150 each plus and this was a way of forcing them to do a bit of promotion. Some hard copy tickets, and we said, hey, you could actually keep 50% of the profit from hard copy tickets, and here's 10 tickets. You guys can make that extra $50, and all you need to do is sell 10 tickets to your friends.
I mean, we went into the album launch thinking, okay, if we purposely picked a smaller venue to play, and we got some different kind of bands on. That coincided with us being a farewell band. Yeah. We got to the end of that show thinking, I actually don't care whether we make no money from the night. Don't care. I'd give all the money to the other bands. Yep. And that's not because I'm a good person. That's just because I wanted to fill the room. You always want to play to I'd be happy to not take any money from any show if it was playing to a full room.
And that's all you want.
That's all I care about.
And a lot of people, I think a lot of people will say that they're of the same ideals as that, and that is that you want to play to as many people and as big a crowds as possible. And you want as many people to hear your music as possible.
That's right.
So that, like, if Spotify, blah, 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 if you don't get huge amounts of money back from all those people listening to it or all those people coming to the show, that's not a problem. But as a true artist, you want more people to love it.
The hope would be that you've got good merch there that people buy anyway. So you're going to make your money back from that side of things. I mean, we saved our best T-shirt design for the very, very end of Old Devil, nice. Which really... If we'd have just gone with it earlier, that would have made life so much simpler. Because that's a free form of advertising, right? You've got the name on there.
Yeah.
And I did, I went to a gig a little while ago and I did see a couple of those shirts there. And that's quite a nice feeling. And they're gold, like they're like a yellow color. So they stand out like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
But
I think I remember this shirt. Yep. Okay.
The priest and the child. Yeah. And we did it for a little bit of controversy. Yeah. There's no bones about that, but it's, I don't know, the music industry, especially in, like, I'm hoping that in 6 months' time, where everybody's going back out, they're going to shows. Yeah. That's what I hope. I hope that they kind of realize, oh well, shit, I don't want to sit at home like doing nothing for another little while.
Yeah.
I better go and support all these people that put money into it. But in saying that, the music that people listen to, let's say sub 25-year-olds, it's completely different to the music you and I listen to.
Yep, totally.
But then there's not a lot of bands out there that are playing the music that they would listen to. So it's a double-edged sword, really, isn't it?
It is, yeah. What's your opinion on it? This is pretty much what we were talking about before, and this was going to be my next question. What's your opinion on the local scene? Just in a more of a vanilla way. What's your opinion on the scene? And now's a good time to talk about it because the scene, we're all in. I said I wasn't going to talk about this. We're in lockdown at the moment because of the global thing.
Yep.
How's it going to bounce back outside of this? Do you think not that this global thing was a good thing? Do you think the scene will bounce back in a different way to where it was just sort of? Was there anything that was going to fix the scene before, and is there anything different that's going to happen now that you think will help it? I'm talking just local. Let's just talk local scenes.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so. Right before this all happened, we obviously put Old Devil on hiatus, which seems like a really good idea right now. But we were really struggling with the fact that people weren't turning out to shows.
Yep.
And that's because there were just so many distractions around. So if we just skim off the top, let's go your Netflix, Uber Eats, PlayStation, Xbox, all those kind of things. That I sound really old there, but I mean, I like all those things as well. But there were so many
Atari. You mean Atari?
Yeah, Atari,
right?
And the Sega Mega Drive.
Pong.
Pong. So yeah, all those things were stopping people from not stopping people, but there was reasons enough to not go out and socialize, right? And there's a lot of social anxiety around people, quite young now for obvious reasons.
Yep.
So then everybody got locked down, and I myself, I don't go to anywhere near as many local shows as what I used to go to.
Me too.
But now, I mean, I am starving for a local music show. It could be the worst band in Perth, Old Devil, and I would be starving to go watch that band play. Because there's just something to do now. So my hope is that people...
I love that. Plug the band by criticising it.
Yeah, it's good, right? It's good. So, I hope that people kind of don't take this going out for granted, and I hope that they're so bored at home that they are just desperate to go and support local bands, or just, even even outside of that, just local businesses.
Yeah.
Go out, go do things, because the businesses are going to need it. The bands are going to need it when they come back.
Well, hopefully when it comes, I mean, I expect it to do that as well. It'll come back and people are like, we can finally go to shows again. They'll go to shows will go up, and hopefully they won't take it for granted again.
I think they will.
And they will. Yeah. And
I think they will.
It will slow down. It won't.
Look, it will, but at the same time, I really hope that some of the bands are actually taking this time. If you're the main songwriter in a band, because every band usually has a main songwriter within that band, right? Yeah. Someone who brings the ideas.
Yeah.
I just really hope there's going to be some really fucking good music come out of this, because you're in lockdown. If you've got like a little studio at home that you can create music, I've made more songs in the last 4 weeks than I did the entire time I was in Old Devil. Mm-hmm. Because there's nothing else to do. There's only so much TV you can watch.
Exactly. And you know what I think with that is I'm hoping to do that as well. So I'm hoping to write some more music. I'm hoping to fix up a lot of stuff around the studio that I wasn't capable of before, because they were like, okay, that's going to take me half a day to fix that mess.
Yep.
And I never had half a day before because I was so busy with studio stuff. So now I've got the chance to write more music, fix up stuff around the studio, and fix up stuff at home. Now everyone's been talking about, I can build that new thing at home now, right? For me, it hasn't worked out that way yet, because I think for me, I'm still going through that first initial month of stressing of, oh shit, I've got to work out where my money's coming from. We've pulled our kid out of daycare, and I've got to work on. I've got to look after him before I can just come here.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I think if you can write music, get in there and write it now. Don't waste too much time on the stuff that you could do before. Like the Netflix dominated people's lives before this thing. Sure, watch a bit of Netflix, but I was watching a bit of Netflix the other night, and I thought to myself, I'm watching reruns of a show that I've seen so many times.
Friends.
It wasn't Friends. It was a show on a show that I've watched every episode of at least 8 times. I'm nearly into double digits, I reckon,
What
for
is
every
it?
single episode. Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Oh, that's so good though.
So, yeah, I think, not to stray too much into the old pandemic thing, but yeah, that's where I'm at now. I'm desperate to try and use this time to my advantage.
Yeah, absolutely.
Come out of this swinging, ready to go again.
I just, I was talking to my friend Josh the other day, and we were saying, like, just can't wait to go to the pub and have a beer. And if I can convince enough people that to go to a local bar where another band is playing, I will absolutely do that.
Yeah.
Like that's what I want. I want to go see some live music, but in the same breath, I mean, people aren't jamming in jam rooms at the moment. So has everybody got to get back into the mode of doing that? I mean, I know when I was not practicing vocals every day, my vocal capability went down.
Yeah.
So does the same thing happen? I just hope that people have a bit more respect and a little bit more glass half full, maybe, about the local music scene. And I really hope that people go out and support those people like they should have been doing before, but for obvious reasons they weren't.
And hopefully that'll be the fact that they're not allowed to go out now. So, and they're still at home watching Netflix and getting Uber Eats. Hopefully it'll be that once they can now go see a live band, even though before they weren't really inclined to go out and see a local live band, they'll be so starved for that thing to go out. They'll be like, who's playing? Oh, my friend's band's playing. I'll come see him. Oh, I'll fucking go see him. I don't think that's going to happen, but how cool would it be if people were so like, yeah, I'll come see a local band. It'll wear off. But
It'd be awesome just for those local bands. And I also hope that not too many people take advantage of that in the wrong way and start charging $30 to go in rather than the $20. I really hope that that's not a thing.
I don't think it will be. It's a bit like in this scenario right now is if you price gouge, you're going to get called out for it. Hopefully.
You'd think so.
I got a call. I'll get off the subject real quick. I got a call from a tutoring company a few weeks ago saying, oh, we do tutoring. Have you got a child at home? Because of the whole corona thing. I'm just like, no, I don't have a child at home. Well, I do, but not a school-age child. And I didn't tell him to get effed, but because I was stressed at that time because we'd just closed. And I felt like you absolute, leech.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, in business, you got to take advantage of it. He wasn't taking advantage in it. They weren't taking advantage in a like a mean way. They were like, hey, people might need tutoring right now. Anyway. So we were talking before about Old Devil and where you were at in the end and whatnot. You've done what I did in my when I swapped to my most recent band. I said, right, I'm a vocalist. I've played guitar and bass in bands before where I've sung and played, and it was always I don't feel like I got the best out of the singing and the instrument. You swapped recently to just vocals. What was that like?
It actually came from Matty Temp. So we went and recorded the album, and I can play guitar just fine. I'm no expert. Well, thanks for that. Look, I'm no expert, and I do what I do within my very specific skill set. Right? I've never had any lessons. Did that. That was fine. But in doing the album, Matty Temp, for the right reasons, was pushing me as hard as anybody has ever pushed me vocally before. Cool. So he took me to another level of what I could do. So then I was sitting there practicing the album in the car.
Because you came in here and just booked during the days. I remember a couple of days you just booked rehearsal rooms and came in here with a microphone and a computer.
Yep.
You just wanted to practice singing the stuff and how you were going to sing it through headphones. That was commitment.
It was, I mean, that was difficult for sure. Look, I get massive amounts of anxiety before I go on stage and I play a show. So the first ever Old Devil show we ever played was with Statues, who my favourite Perth band, full stop, other than Collider, obviously. But, my favourite Perth band, full stop. And we went to play the show and I had to go and take a walk around the Rosemount, and I threw up in a bush, and I was just so anxious and nervous to get on stage and do it.
This.
Yeah. You remember that. You cleaned it. But I never had that playing guitar before. Never once did I feel anxious getting on stage and playing guitar. But vocals is such a different thing.
Oh, you're way more vulnerable, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And on a guitar, you can either play a note on this fret or a note on this fret. With vocals, there's so much room for an error to occur. So doing doing those vocals on stage, I had to be at my absolute peak. So I couldn't drink before a show. I couldn't do all those things. And then that led into, okay, well, can I play guitar and do a really good job at vocals at the same time?
Yeah.
Can I move around and do all the things that I want to do with guitar, but then still give a vocal performance that's good? Mm-hmm. So I came to the decision that I love playing guitar, but I don't want to do that as the main thing and try and do vocals anymore. And having Nick in the band who could take up some vocals as well was really, really great. That helped make that decision a lot easier. And all the members of my band most of them were on board with what was going to happen.
Yep.
And they all came around eventually.
Yeah. That was the same when sorry to cut you off, but even though I was starting a band with that idea, as we were starting the band, there was occasionally a member or two would say, well, if we're struggling to find a bass player at the moment, how about if you... And I'll stop you there. Not an option. And I'm glad.
Bass is so much harder to do because you're not playing straight rhythms all the time. You got to play to the kick.
Yeah.
So that arguably harder. I started doing it. The first show I ever played when I didn't do vocals, someone came up to me afterwards, and I actually genuinely really appreciate what they said.
Yep.
They were like, you're not comfortable up there. Like you haven't found your rhythm on stage yet. That's going to come in time, but you do need to work on it. And I actually genuinely appreciated that feedback. It wasn't offensive. It was just like, okay, I need to learn from it.
Number one, face the audience.
Yeah. I mean, look, and you make a joke. I turned away a lot because I didn't know what to do with my hands. I didn't know what to do with the rest of my body. I'd usually have this guitar in front of me.
I still do that in that if you're playing a show to not so many people, if you're singing and you've already looked at the 50 individual people once already, you're like, and I look up at that spot, now I've got to turn around and just pretend I'm like having a joke with the drummer for a while.
That's right. You just saying to the drummer, just smile at me, pretend I'm funny, I'm funny.
Pretty much, yeah.
And then in the end, I really got into the swing of it. I found my mode on stage. I had this like red jacket that I'd wear without any shirt underneath and like have my belly hanging out. Like I just wanted to have something a little bit different. And I actually really preferred being just a vocalist in the end than that. I could do, I could kind of let out all the anger on stage and do all that. I was a bit restricted with guitar. I know that now. Yeah. But I still love playing guitar. Yeah. But I'd never done vocals before this band. I had no idea whether I could sing until I got in a room and was like, right, well, just go for it and see what happens. And now I can kind of do it.
So you didn't do much vocals in bands prior to this?
No.
None. What a waste.
Yeah, maybe. I probably didn't have the confidence to do it back then, in fairness, and probably didn't have the skill set. I still... If anybody tells me that I'm a good vocalist, I'm still kind of I'm a bit like, really? About that? Because I know all my weak points.
Is it because they're laughing, as they say?
Yeah, and usually spitting at me. Yeah. But it's a nice thing to have said, but I'm hypercritical of myself. I'm never going to accept what anybody else. I'm always going to try a little bit harder. But it was good. It was good fun. I managed to get some stuff out. I've kind of done a piece of everything now that I wanted to do and got what I wanted out of it. So that's always good.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Now that I know all that, I'm like, no wonder this latest thing is your baby. It's an album. You've poured as much, if not more, into it as previous works, and you're like you're the singer. It's very focused on you. So that was it's cool.
Even just trying to write, I was really, really aware of writing a concept that I know other people wouldn't really relate to. Mm-hmm. Kind of relatable now though, because the whole album is about the end of the world.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like it's semi-relevant now. If only I just waited until coronavirus hit and then release the album, huh?
Well, there's a lot of people putting old songs up now that are about isolation, saying, "Oh, how relevant is this now?" And it's like, yeah. The Alien Ant Farm's version of "Smooth Criminal" was trending because there's a kid that dances throughout the video clip, and he's wearing a medical mask, and that was it. Just because of that, it trended again. Alien Ant Farm's "Smooth Criminal" trended again.
Yeah, look, I don't think they're prophets, to be honest. Alien Ant Farm, I don't think they're the prophets of what was going to. I don't think they guessed it. Let's be honest. Good band though.
It's strange. Like, this is going to sound strange. I'm a huge Alien Ant Farm fan.
Man, me too.
Like, I've listened to all their stuff. I paid their crowdfund for their last album.
Yeah, like Attitude is one of the best songs ever written in that scene. Like, everybody just knows Smooth Criminal and Movies, but that's the second album.
Even Attitude.
Yeah.
Off from the first album. Your solitude is welcome, which is one of the lyrics in that song. I'm just like, holy shit. Yeah, right.
I'd never met anybody else that likes Alien Ant Farm.
No, big fan.
Discoveries, right? There you go.
Check them out. Check out this band, Alien Ant Farm. They just brought out their own craft beer.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, you're a bigger fan than me. I would never know that.
Cool. So, what do you? We've already talked about it, but if someone was to go listen to a Kieran Murphy song, it's obviously going to be Old Devil. What's the album called? Where can they listen to it?
So Old Devil, we put out an album towards the end of last year, and it's called Lapel David.
I'm glad you pronounced it. I wasn't.
Yeah. Well, I've had so many. Lapel Divide. It's Lapel David, which is the call of the void. So it's essentially the feeling you have when you're driving your car along and you're like, what if I just veered off into the hedges? Or what if I'm standing on the edge of a cliff and I jumped off? It's that like call of darkness that I think every human has experienced at some point.
Yep.
And you're never necessarily going to do anything with it, but it's that attraction to the dark side. Like it's that attraction. So the whole album is about knowing that something is probably not the best course of action, but you're probably going to end up doing it anyway.
Yeah.
I loved making the album. It nearly broke me doing the album. And that's, again, credit to Matt because he pushed me as hard as he possibly could. So yeah, I mean, I love that. I love that album. I would listen to it myself because I didn't want to write it for anybody else. I wanted to write it music that I wanted to write. That way I could identify it with a bit more.
That's great. I've put out stuff. We've all put out stuff before that we think, I don't want to listen to it and I don't want to recommend it to people because I'm embarrassed by it. Even from the moment it comes out, I know it wasn't good enough. But then we've all, I think, hopefully put out stuff that we enjoy listening to secretly ourselves.
Well, it's not anybody else. It's my hobby.
Yeah.
Like it's that I'm doing it because I enjoy doing it. So you don't take up a hobby to please other people. That's not how hobbies work. You do it because you want to do it for yourself. Yeah. So I do, and this is not to be critical of other people, but like I do think there's a little bit of a writing music for other people phase that people are going through, and
they do it because they want to get recognition.
And I think it's just so easy to write a song now. If you've got,
I'm writing music that was popular I'm writing music that was popular between 2005 and 2008. So you're preaching to the choir here.
Yeah, that's because that's the music we grew up listening to, right? That's the music we enjoy, and that probably doesn't resonate with people that are going to go to shows nowadays. There's a lot of people that I've spoken to that really like the album. And I'm like, okay, will you come to a show? And it's like, no, mate, I'm 32 now. I don't go to live shows. And it's like, okay, well, that's the issue within itself. Yeah. So
that's available, obviously, on the streaming platforms.
Yep. No CD format.
Lapel David.
Yep.
Nailed it.
Yeah, you got it. So that's probably going to be the last thing that Old Devil do. Maybe. Who knows? Not sure what the future holds.
Watch this space. Hopefully we hear some more stuff. Maybe. And hopefully we play some form of show together one day. And on that note, thanks for tuning in.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Cheers.
Bye.